I found out my brother was embezzling money from our family business, and when I exposed him, he revealed Dad's secret family that he had been visiting for years. I, 29 male, have always had a rocky relationship with my brother, 26 male, since we were kids. He was my mom's favorite and he knew it. Our family dynamics changed completely when my dad passed away from a heart attack when I was 10 and my brother was 7. Dad's death hit us all hard, but Mom, 52 female, had to quickly pull herself together to take over my dad's real estate business. She worked really hard to grow it and now it's worth millions. Growing up after Dad's death, the difference in how Mom treated us became more obvious. My brother got everything he wanted: expensive clothes, latest gadgets, sports cars when he turned 16. Meanwhile, I had to maintain perfect grades just to get basic stuff. If I asked for anything extra, Mom would say we needed to save money for the business. But there was always money for whatever my brother wanted. When I turned 18, I decided to learn about real estate. I didn't go to a fancy college like my brother. Instead, I went to community college while working in our family business from the bottom up. I started as a file clerk, then became a property manager, got my real estate license, and worked my way up learning everything about the business. It was hard work, but I wanted to make Dad proud. My brother was totally different. He went to an expensive private university where he mostly partied. He changed his major 3 times and took 6 years to graduate with barely passing grades. During his college years, I was already managing major deals and client relationships at our company. Every summer when he came home, he'd show up at the office for a few days, make a mess of things, and then disappear to party with his friends. After graduation, he suddenly decided he wanted to join the family business too. Despite having zero experience or knowledge about real estate, Mom immediately gave him a senior position equal to mine. She said since we were both her sons, we should have equal positions. All those years of my hard work meant nothing. For the past 5 years, I've been handling most of the major deals and business operations. I come in early, stay late, work weekends when needed. Meanwhile, my brother shows up at 11 a.m., takes 2-hour lunches, leaves early, and spends most of his time on his phone. But somehow he always manages to take credit for my work during meetings with Mom. The worst part is how he sabotages deals just because of his ego. Last year, I spent months negotiating with an international client for a major development project. Just when we were about to close, my brother jumped in, tried to change all the terms without understanding the deal, and the client walked away. Mom still blamed me for losing the client. Last month, I finally closed a huge $15 million commercial property deal that I'd been working on for over a year. It was the biggest deal in our company's history. During the celebration dinner, my brother stood up and gave a speech about how he was the one who found the opportunity and made it happen. He barely knew the client's name but took full credit while I sat there fuming. Mom praised him endlessly while I got a brief good job. Something felt off about our recent financial reports, so I started looking into them carefully. That's when I discovered the shocking truth. My brother had been embezzling money from the company for the past 2 years, nearly $500,000 in total. He had created a fake vendor company and was billing us for non-existent services. All the payments were going to accounts he controlled. I gathered all the evidence and confronted him privately in his office. Instead of showing any remorse, he laughed and said no one would believe me. He was right. He went straight to Mom and spun this whole story about how I was trying to sabotage him because I was jealous of his success. He even cried and told her I had threatened him. He suggested that I should be removed from the business since I was creating a toxic work environment. Mom actually believed him without even asking for my side of the story. She called me to her office the next day and said she was disappointed in me. She said family should support each other, not tear each other down. She demanded that I apologize to my brother and take sensitivity training. That's when I lost it. I pulled out all the evidence of his embezzlement, bank statements, fake invoices, everything. But I didn't stop there. I told her everything I had covered up for him over the years, his cocaine addiction in college that I helped him hide, how he had gotten his girlfriend pregnant senior year and paid for her abortion with Mom's credit card, telling Mom the charges were for textbooks, his drunk driving arrests that I had bailed him out of, everything. I had proof for all of it, photos, documents, text messages. Mom just sat there in shock as I laid it all out. My brother started crying and begging for forgiveness, saying he had a gambling problem and needed help. Mom put him on immediate leave pending an investigation. Now our relatives are taking sides. Some say I did the right thing exposing his crimes, others say I went too far bringing up his past mistakes. My brother keeps texting me saying I ruined his life. Mom hasn't spoken to me in days. I feel like I did what I had to do. He tried to get me kicked out of the business I helped build just to cover up his crimes. He betrayed not just me but the entire company. The money he stole could have gone to employee bonuses or business expansion. Some relatives are saying I shouldn't have brought up the abortion and drug stuff since it was in the past, but I needed Mom to see his true character. She had always seen him as her perfect baby boy who could do no wrong. The investigation is still ongoing. Our company's accounting team found even more suspicious transactions they're looking into. My brother's wife, 24F, called me crying yesterday. She had no idea about any of this and now she's thinking about leaving him. I feel bad for her but that's on him, not me. Update 1. The situation has exploded far beyond what I expected. The forensic accountants finally finished their investigation and what they found is horrifying. My brother hadn't stolen $500,000 like we initially thought, the actual amount is closer to $800,000. He had multiple schemes running simultaneously. Besides the fake vendor invoices, he was also inflating legitimate expenses and pocketing the difference, creating ghost employees on payroll, and billing clients extra for services then diverting the excess payments. But that wasn't even the worst part. They discovered he had been making secret deals with our competitors. He would tip them off about our confidential bids and client information in exchange for kickbacks. We lost several major deals over the past year because of his betrayal. Some of our biggest clients are threatening legal action because he mishandled their private information. Mom finally confronted him in a board meeting with our lawyers present. She was incredibly calm at first, methodically going through each piece of evidence. My brother tried his usual tactics, crying, making excuses, blaming others. But when he realized none of it was working, he completely broke down and then dropped a bombshell that changed everything. Apparently, Dad had another family before he died, a whole other wife and 2 kids that none of us knew about. My brother claimed he discovered this 5 years ago when he was looking through old documents in our storage facility. He found marriage certificates, old photos, and letters. Instead of telling us, he kept this information to himself and started investigating on his own. According to him, he began stealing because he was angry after learning that Dad had left his first family financially secure. Apparently Dad had set up some kind of trust fund for his other kids before he died. My brother felt cheated, saying it wasn't fair that Dad's other family was living comfortably while we had to work. Of course, this makes no sense since our company is worth millions, but he wasn't being rational. Mom's reaction was heartbreaking. She just sat there completely still, like she had turned to stone. Then she got up without saying a word and went home. She's been going through all our old family photos and documents frantically looking for clues she might have missed. She keeps asking herself how she never knew for 20 years of marriage. I did some digging myself and managed to find out more about our half-siblings. The older one is a sister, 35F, who works as a doctor in California. The younger one is a brother, 32M, who runs a successful tech startup in Seattle. Neither of them have our last name, they kept their mother's name. They probably don't even know about us. But here's where it gets even crazier. My brother confessed he had actually been in contact with them for the past 2 years. He found them on social media and reached out pretending he just wanted to connect. All those business trips he took to the West Coast? He was visiting them. He showed us photos of him with them at restaurants, their homes, even family gatherings. He had built a whole relationship with them while keeping us in the dark. Mom is absolutely devastated. The foundation of her entire life has been shaken. She hasn't been eating or sleeping properly. She just sits in Dad's old study staring at their wedding photos. When I try to talk to her, she keeps asking if there were signs she missed, if everyone knew except her, if she was blind or just stupid. It's awful seeing her like this. Yesterday, our company lawyer called with more complications. Since Dad started the real estate business while he was still married to his first wife, she might have had a legal claim to part of it. That claim would have passed to their children after her death. Even though it's been decades, there could be serious legal implications. We might have to open all our old records and possibly face a major lawsuit. My brother's personal life is falling apart too. His wife moved back to her parents' house and is talking to divorce lawyers. She's furious that he lied to her about everything, especially the money. Last night he showed up at my house completely drunk, pounding on the door and screaming. He was ranting about how I destroyed our family and saying Dad would be ashamed of me for betraying my brother. He said I was worse than Dad because at least Dad had the decency to keep his lies secret. I had to call the police to remove him. Our extended family is now completely divided. Some relatives say I should have handled the embezzlement privately instead of exposing everything in front of the board. They think I was just jealous of my brother and wanted to hurt him. But how was I supposed to know about Dad's other family? I just wanted him to face consequences for stealing and trying to frame me. None of us could have predicted it would spiral into this nightmare. The company's reputation is taking a massive hit. News of the financial fraud has spread through local business circles. Several longtime clients have already pulled their accounts. Our employees are worried about their jobs. Everything Dad and Mom built over decades is at risk of crumbling. And somewhere out there, we have half-siblings who might soon learn their father had a whole other family they never knew about. All because my brother couldn't control his greed and resentment. Update 2. The situation took a major turn when Dad's other family reached out through their lawyer. Turns out they knew about us all along. Dad had told them everything before he died. They never contacted us because Dad made them promise to stay away. He thought it would be easier for everyone if the families remained separate. They only broke their promise now because of the legal mess with the business. After weeks of back and forth through lawyers, I finally met my half-siblings in person. Walking into that conference room was one of the most surreal moments of my life. My half-brother looked exactly like Dad, same height, same smile, even the same way of talking with his hands. My half-sister had Dad's eyes. It was like seeing pieces of him I thought were gone forever. During our meeting, they shared their side of the story. Dad had left their mother because she was physically abusive and had severe gambling problems. She would disappear for days, empty their bank accounts, and once even tried to sell their house without Dad's knowledge. He tried to help her get treatment but eventually had to leave to protect the kids. She died from an overdose about 10 years ago. Before leaving, Dad had set up substantial trust funds for both his kids to make sure they would be okay. He used money from his inheritance, not the business. He never told Mom about any of this because he was deeply ashamed of his past. My half-sibling said he would visit them occasionally when we thought he was on business trips, but as they got older the visits became less frequent. When my brother found out about this, he was furious about the trust funds. He felt betrayed that Dad's other kids got guaranteed money while we had to work in the family business. He forgot to mention during his confession that he had tried to blackmail our half-siblings, threatening to expose everything unless they shared their trust fund money with him. They refused. Last week, my brother hit rock bottom. After another night of heavy drinking, he crashed his car into a tree going 80 miles per hour. He survived but broke several bones and will need months of physical therapy. That was finally the last straw for Mom. She went to the hospital and told him she's pressing criminal charges for the embezzlement. She said she had failed him by always protecting him from consequences, and she wouldn't make that mistake again. The company is struggling to stay afloat. Several major clients pulled their accounts after news of the financial fraud spread. Our reputation in the local business community is in shambles. Many of our employees are jumping ship, worried about their futures. We're trying to keep things running, but every day brings new challenges. But here's where things got interesting. My half-siblings actually offered to help save the business. They don't want or need any part of it. They're both very successful in their own careers, but they want to know their other family. They offered to sign legal documents giving up any potential claim to the company if we agree to build a relationship with them. Their kindness made Mom break down crying. She had been so afraid they would hate her or blame her, but they understood she was a victim of Dad's lies too. They even shared happy stories about Dad that helped Mom see he wasn't entirely the villain she had begun to imagine. He was just a flawed man who made mistakes trying to protect everyone but ended up hurting them instead. The most surprising development came from our half-sister. She's a prominent child psychiatrist, and after hearing about my brother's behavior patterns, she suggested he might have borderline personality disorder. Apparently, Dad's first wife had it too. This information somehow made Mom feel both better and worse, better because it helped explain his actions, worse because she had missed the signs for so long. We're still figuring out how to be a family, all of us. It's awkward and messy but also healing in unexpected ways. My half-siblings' kids are excited to have new aunts and uncles. Mom is learning to forgive Dad, not for his sake but for her own peace. The company might be smaller now, but at least it's built on truth instead of lies. Update 3. Everything has finally settled into a new normal, though it's very different from our old life. My brother pleaded guilty to embezzlement and is serving a 3-year sentence in minimum security prison. His ex-wife divorced him and took him for everything she could get, which wasn't much since most of his money came from stealing. She's moved to another state to start fresh. Mom went through a complete transformation. She sold our childhood home saying she couldn't live with the ghosts of her marriage anymore. She bought a smaller place near the beach and seems more relaxed there. The weight of maintaining the perfect family image is gone. She's even started dating again, a retired professor she met at her art class. They travel a lot and she looks younger somehow. She still won't visit my brother in prison though. She sends him money for commissary, but that's it. I think seeing him in there would break her heart all over again. She did attend his sentencing hearing and finally told the judge everything, how she enabled his behavior, ignored red flags, and failed him as a mother by never setting boundaries. It was hard to watch but necessary for her healing. The business survived, but it's much smaller now. We lost about 40% of our clients in the aftermath of the scandal. The ones who stayed are incredibly loyal though, and we're slowly rebuilding our reputation. Mom officially retired and signed over full control to me. My half-siblings kept their word and signed away any legal claims to the company. The most positive change has been our expanded family. We have monthly dinners where all of us get together, my half-siblings, their spouses, their kids, Mom, even my half-sister's teenage daughter who looks eerily like our dad. The kids call me uncle and fight over who gets to sit next to me. It's chaotic and loud but feels right somehow. I hired a new management team and implemented strict financial controls. Our profits are lower but everything is transparent now. No more family secrets or hidden accounts. Some of our old employees who left during the scandal have started coming back. They say they prefer working for an honest smaller company than a corrupt bigger one. My brother writes to me from prison every few weeks. His letters started out angry and blaming, but lately they've been different. He's in therapy and taking medication for his mental health issues. He says he finally understands why he did what he did. He's especially fixated on making amends with Mom, but she's not ready for that yet. Some relatives still think I went too far in exposing everything. They say I could have handled it privately, kept the family's reputation intact. But I don't regret anything. The truth was going to come out eventually, and at least this way we could deal with it on our terms. Mom told me recently that she's glad everything happened the way it did. She said living with lies was slowly killing her even though she didn't realize it. Now she can just be herself, not the perfect widow, not the successful businesswoman, not the mother who had to choose between her sons. Just herself. I haven't replied to my brother's letters yet. Maybe someday I will, but right now I'm focused on rebuilding what he broke, both the business and our family's trust. Sometimes I look at old photos and barely recognize the people we used to be. We're all a little more broken now, but also more real. And maybe that's not such a bad thing.